let's see. Okay. What's the term for the pattern of enduring characteristics that lend stability and consistency to an individual's behavior and serve to differentiate one individual from another? Personality. Look for it on the test, won't you? Okay, who can tell me, who can name the big five from memory without looking at your notes? The big five personality.
Openness, experience, consciousness.
What?
Consciousness.
Conscientiousness?
Yeah, sorry. Extroversion. Agreeableness. And
Neuroticism. Excellent. How did you remember that?
ocean.
Oh, very good. Thank you. Remember ocean. That's a mnemonic device for the big five. And the question on the test will be, which of the following is not one? Well done. Well done. How about this? Several questions on Freud. Remember him? He's our hero on this test, even if you don't like his theory. His idea is that personality largely reflects internal unconscious forces at the bottom of the iceberg. Remember? That's called the psychodynamic perspective. Id, ego, and superego. You know something about them? Make sure you know which is which. Which one are you born with? Id. Which one's the conscience?
Superego.
Superego. What does the ego do? What's the governing principle of the ego?
Reality.
Which one, id, ego, or superego, does defense mechanisms? Ego. The ego does them. Remember, unconsciously. Here's a question. Which component of the personality uses defense mechanisms? Why? To protect us from something. From what? Anxiety. Yes. How many people dig Freud? Maybe there's some junior Freudians in here. Okay. He is alive and well in 2015. Not necessarily well, but he is alive anyway. Here's one of the most basic or fundamental defense mechanisms. Just pushing something in the unconscious is called repression. Remember burying something in the unconscious? That's repression. Then I ask you about somebody. I'll describe you to somebody, and you tell me which ego defense mechanism they're using. I'm not going to give away that one. Oh, psychosexual development. Do you know the stages in order? Oral, anal, phallic, latency, and genital. Did I get it right?
Yeah.
That would be good to know. At what stage does the child go through the Oedipal complex? First of all, what is the Oedipal complex? You've taken a psych course, man. You're sitting at home tonight with your peeps, eating your din-dins, and somebody says, what is the Oedipal complex? What would you say? Allow me. You would say that that's in the phallic stage when the young child develops an erotic fascination with the opposite sex parent. Sound familiar? That's on the test, folks. Freudian notions. What has subsequent research shown to be true? The modern day neuroscientist would say, you know what? He really was onto something with this idea that a lot of what's going on between our ears is not conscious. They would like that. There's a lot going on between your ears which is unconscious. Freud has hit it out of the park with that. Not so much as other things. Stangor is merciless on Freud. If you read the book, he just says, out, no ego defense mechanisms. Out, no psychosexual development. That's Stangor. What's the most optimistic theory of human personality? Humanistic psychology. Remember Maslow's hierarchy of human needs? I hope you'll know it because it will get you 2 points. When you go up the pyramid, what's at the bottom? Physiological needs. Food, water, sex, breathable air, things like that. What's at the tippy top? Self-actualization. Then in the chapter on disorders, I start off with a definition question about angst, which is the German word for what? Dread. You don't need to know that, but it's the German substitute for anxiety. Anybody had any anxiety lately? No, me too. Let's see. A feeling of apprehension and tension is anxiety. Then I'm going to ask you a two-pointer where this one's pretty tough. Which of the following major anxiety disorders is correctly paired with a description? You should know the generalized anxiety. Remember those guys? They're the worriers, correct? That's the last 2 years. The worriers. Then there was phobias. We have talked a lot about those. We also talked about panic disorder. OCD, by the way, is not classified as an anxiety disorder anymore. I want to emphasize that when somebody has a panic attack, they might have this overwhelming sense of dread. Remember we talked about panic? They might have cardiac effects. They might feel their heart palpitating. They might think they're having a heart attack or something like that. They're actually having a panic attack. Okay, is this helpful? Yeah. Would you like more?
Yes.
Of course you would. What about OCD? Who can say something about the course of obsessive compulsive disorder? When is it usually onset? Childhood or adolescence. Then over the lifespan, depending on the individual, it ebbs and flows, correct? It might come and go over the lifespan. Dissociative disorders. A lot of students lose their A on this test by not studying the dissociative disorders. We talked about those. Does dissociative amnesia ring a bell? And dissociative fugue, what the heck was that? And dissociative identity disorder. Which of the following dissociative disorders is correctly matched with its description? 2 points. What's the word for disorders of emotional experience that impair everyday living? What kind of disorders are those? One at a time, please. Would you believe mood? Can your mood be disordered? I think so. Who knows what dysthymia is? What is it? Wait. Well done. Mild chronic depression. You nailed it. Which of the following mood disorders is correctly paired with a description? You should know the difference between bipolar, remember those guys? Mood swings, up and down. And there's depression, and there's mania, which is just elevated mood. Delusions are to hallucinations as blank is to blank. Sound familiar? Delusions are cognitions, are they not? And hallucinations are sensory experiences without any actual input. So I would say delusions are cognitions and hallucinations are perceptions. 2 neurotransmitters that play a role in schizophrenia. Anybody name them? Yes. Well done. Dopamine and serotonin. It's in the PowerPoint and on the test as well. What about functional neurological symptom disorder? What did that used to be called in DSM-4? Well, the actual question reads like this. Which of the following statements is true concerning the relationship between functional neurological symptom disorder and conversion disorder? That's a real university level one. Remember, functional neurological symptom disorder used to be called conversion disorder in the old DSM. That's the point, DSM-4. What's illness anxiety disorder? What did that used to be called? Hypochondriasis. So this question page has illness anxiety disorder. This means what? Psychotherapy. We talked a lot about psychodynamic or Freudian psychoanalysis, did we not? I got 1, 2, 3, 4 questions, 8 points on Freud's psychoanalysis. The idea is you access the unconscious. How do you do it? Well, first of all, why do you do it? So that you can give the patient insight. Here's why you're having your problem. And the way they get into the unconscious mind of the patient is by dream analysis and free association and exploring resistance. Remember resistance? Tendency to block the free expression of unconscious ideas. And also they talk about transference. So this looks like one of those dreaded all of the above thingies. Make sure you know what's meant by resistance. There's a separate question on that. And here's a separate question on transference. What is transference? It's about person-centered therapy? Remember those guys? That's Carl Rogers, humanistic therapy. That's a type of therapy. Oh, name a humanistic therapist. Carl Rogers. Well done, sir. The therapist in person-centered or client-centered therapist is essentially reflecting back what the person says, correct? And is attempting to give them insight that way. They form their own insights from being paraphrased. That's why it's called person-centered. I want to review behavior therapy on the test. The idea is that people have behavioral problems. You use behavior theory, learning principles, to teach them new behaviors. So you can take somebody who's phobic of spiders at age 15 and condition her to laugh and smile while petting a tarantula. How about that? Glad you approved. Let's see. Huh? That was called systematic desensitization. But generally speaking, the behavior therapies try to treat behavior disorders by teaching new behaviors. In fact, here's one where a person with social anxiety watches a movie where an individual greets strangers in a crowded room, makes small talk, and smiles pleasantly. Point is, some people get better from observational learning, seeing other people cope. So if you think back to the video on systematic desensitization for the arachnophobic 15-year-old, the therapist was also modeling, right? I can hold a spider in my hands. So they're taking advantage of not just extinction in classical conditioning, but also observational learning by seeing. By the way, if you like behavior theory, consider becoming a behavioral therapist, because there's going to be a lot of work for behavior therapists in the 21st century, I think. Some people are perfect. Why can't I be perfect? Why is everything I do wrong? A cognitive therapist or a rational emotive therapist would have a lot of fun chatting with that person, correct? Your cognitions are making you unhappy. Talk a little bit about cognitive therapy and rational emotive therapy. What kind of drugs are selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors? Antidepressants. It's on the test. Then there's two questions on ECT. When did it originate? 1930s. What's it used for? Major depression. Major depression. What's the side effect? Main side effect? Memory loss. Speaking of memory loss, let's go on. Let's see. Okay, that's the first 36 questions. The remaining 14 questions on the test are all stuff we've just talked about. Social psych, the definition, baby face, prejudice, discrimination, interpersonal attraction. Sound familiar? Just went over all this jazz, man. How about the fundamental attribution error? Well, you know what that is. You see somebody do something wrong or bad, and you attribute it to their person quality, correct? As opposed to the situation. And then there's the opposite, the self-serving bias. We're all vulnerable to that. Here's a two-pointer on cognitive dissonance theory. What the heck is that? Here's Latney and Darley's model of helping, altruism. Here's the culture of honor, followed by the Ash study on conformity and the Milgram study. I already raised it 65%, followed orders. The last two questions on the test deal with the idea of catharsis as a way of blowing off steam. Has science supported it or not?
No.
No.
Did you say it was 65 or 75? I thought you were
65. And the Ash study was 75%.
Oh.
Don't get them mixed up. Have a nice day. Come at 12. We'll do the test